Okay, at last we made it and we are here, the morning show on Love World Plus. Happy Independence, Nigeria. We are still in the flow. We're still in the mood. Today is a public holiday, if you are in Nigeria, that is. And yes, it is still in line with the country's independence anniversary commemoration, if you like. Nigeria is celebrating 56 years of independence. So yes, you can expect that we are going to be talking on these matters still. But I'd love to welcome you to the morning show today, this Monday. Hope you're good. Hope you had a fantastic weekend and are, bright and freshed up and everything. But my name is Zoe Okafor. Welcome to the show. Welcome back. The morning show is still up, and Nigeria is still commemorating her 56th independence anniversary. And amidst that, there have been different discussions on different platforms, radio, TV, even the papers are looking at some of the issues that are emanating. We're looking at Nigeria's democratic process. We're looking at governance. We're looking at the economy, different and diverse issues. Now, among all the issues that are being discussed in this time, one issue perhaps is if not the most, then it's probably one of the most challenged issues that the country is facing, and this has to do with her unity. Now, amongst calls for restructuring of the country and greater control for resources from the regions or by the regions, people and different stakeholders, analysts have all giving their opinions as to what can do or what should be done to move the country forward and to bring about a stronger, a more vibrant and a more unified country. So this is what we're going to be looking at in today's discussion. How do we move forward? How do we become a stronger nation? How can we, Nigeria, as the giant of Africa, truly remain the symbol and the image of hope, unity and strength for the rest of Africa? And to help us in this discussion today, we are joined by Nnamdi Abana. Nnamdi is a political scientist. He does run a blog that deals on issues in the news as well as politics. And he is here today. Good morning. It's great to see you again after quite a while.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here this morning.
It's great to have you here. Happy Independence, by the way. I saw you earlier clutching a copy of the Rhapsody of Reality for the month of October.
Yeah.
It's already moving on.
Yeah, it's moving on.
Yes.
We are changing the nation with Rhapsody of Realities. It's a tool that God has given to us to use in the transformation of our country. Indeed. Pastor has told us in time past, in one of his messages, he said to us that the world paints the picture of gloom and doom, but Christ in you is the hope of glory. Indeed. And I am very glad by the Rhapsody of Realities initiative, the Reach Out Nigeria campaign, which commenced on 1st of October 2007. Pastor introduced a different message, a message of hope, a message of awakening the national consciousness. Lots of Nigerians, they only see the gloom and the doom.
Exactly.
They don't see the possibilities and also the possibilities and the positive sides of the nation. So through the Reach Out Nigeria campaign, Pastor has been able to change the mindset of lots of Nigerians to the positive.
I totally agree.
Yes, and that campaign is still on. I went somewhere yesterday, I asked them, how are you celebrating the Independence Day? He said, we are celebrating, some of them started, whining and complaining. I said, no, you don't have to complain about the situation. Like Pastor would always tell us, use another light. If they have copies of Rhapsody of Realities, that would have changed their thought pattern, that would have changed their confession. I went ahead to ask him, I asked him, have you received a copy of Rhapsody of Realities? He said, no, I've not received any for this year. I said, okay. So I knew there was a satellite church around there. So I quickly located the satellite church, got 20 copies. Yes, 20 copies. I went straight to him, gave him, and distributed the rest. That was yesterday night. That was 30 copies. Yes. So, you know, we are changing the nation with Rhapsody of Realities. And this is the time. This is the time for us to hype it, in quotes. This is the time for us to celebrate the Reach Out Nigeria campaign. The Bible tells us that when men say there is cast down, we shall say that there is lifting up. And the word has told us that righteousness exalts a nation. Rhapsody of Realities and the Reach Out Nigeria, they are instruments of righteousness. With these materials, we have the ability to revolutionize and change our nation and set the right direction for our nation.
Indeed, I totally agree with you. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations once again. You know, we're talking about bringing about or how we can move towards a better, a stronger, a more unified Nigeria. And the Reach Out Nigeria initiative is one major key in which we can achieve that. You know, but in discussing this broadly, you know, when it comes to the unity of the nation, of the country, a lot of people have proffered different solutions, different suggestions, if you may. Some say, okay, restructure, I think that's the best solution, let everybody just mind their business. For some, it's just decentralizing, you know, the power and unbundling
the government,
that there's too much power at the center and all of that. What are your views as regards that?
Yeah, we've had structural issues in the nation. You know, somebody said that the law of madness is for you to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. If the present structure that we have in the country is not effective or is not producing the desired outcome, the best thing to do is to restructure. I believe that's the reason why many people are calling for a restructuring. The last time when I was here, I made mention of true federalism. Some call it fiscal federalism. Yes. It still boils down to the same thing. Regionalism, they've called it different names, you know, but let's not play on semantics. The major issue right now is that Nigeria needs to restructure. Pastor made a statement in one of his messages many years ago, titled Fulfilling Your Purpose. Pastor said that Nigeria is a nation orchestrated to administrate rather than to produce. So we now want to take a quantum leap from administration to production. And the best way for us to move is for us to restructure. By the time we restructure and you are on your own, if you think you have nothing in your state, you have to sit down and think.
And look inwards.
It has been said that necessity is the mother of invention. Yes. I remember vividly, I keep using this as an instance. There was a time Lagos State was told by the federal government, we are not going to give you any allocation because you established local government development areas, which is not within the confines of the 1999 Constitution. That was during Obasanjo's regime. What happened to Lagos State? The allocation stopped coming. The governor of Lagos State, as at then, that was Ahmed Tinubu, had to put on his thinking cap. He came up with, of course, the federal government had their own lotto program. Tinubu came up with his own lotto program. We saw him establishing law enforcement outfits, the KAI and so on. If you cross the pedestrian, if you refuse to cross the pedestrian bridge at Ojota, they will arrest you and you pay some fine. He started thinking of ways to generate money. Here in Lagos State, the local government system is different from what we have in other states. In other states, what they do is, once the allocation comes from the federal government, they call their folks, hey, the money is here. They place it on the table, you know, like a cake. They divide it among themselves, and the money is frittered away. You get to the local government, the local government remains a village. You know, but there are some, I remember back then in Enugu, local government, tarred roads, streets were tarred by local government. But with time, all those things changed. Today, the local governments are not doing anything. The money comes, they share it amongst themselves. That has been the situation. But in Lagos State, as at then, the local government development authorities were made, that was why they were called local government development. So it got into their consciousness that the reason why you are here is for you to develop your council area. They had halls which they rented. Of course, they were made, the local governments were made to pay their staff. So if you play around for 1 month, you have no money to pay your staff. So they had to be on their toes. You know, so back to the restructure, still on the restructuring. Every state has human and material resources that they can explore and use for their own development. Actually, federalism. If you talk about federalism, we are not really practicing true federalism in Nigeria. We are answering Federal Republic of Nigeria just in paper. What we are practicing is a unitary system of government where power flows from the top to the rest. Today you hear the federal government giving bailouts to states. States, after squandering their wealth, they go over to the federal government and they cap in hand, they collect money and spend, then they will now go back. You know, so all these things, they have to stop. They have to stop. The states are rich. Let me give you an instance. Once upon a time, Anambra State was regarded as the worst state in the federation. In fact, they even had a terrible acronym then, Home for All. So people were like, Home for All? No wonder. Criminality, Anambra. Non-payment of teachers' salary, Anambra. You know, all vice, talk about armed robbery, talk about, you know. But what happened? When there was a change of leadership in the state, he began with the introduction of a new acronym for the state. It says Anambra State, Light of the Nation. Words are powerful.
Words are, indeed.
Words are powerful. He said Light of the Nation. He began to restructure the system. Got to the education sector, revamped the education sector, handed the schools back to the mission. The mission, they were administering the schools directly. Anambra State that used to come, you know, the state was nowhere in, you know, competitive examinations. From the point of nowhere, they became number 2 and number 1. From zero to hero. This is what we are talking about. Talk about employment generation. You know, so I believe in restructuring. Let us restructure. Whether they want to make it, whether they want to do it in terms of region or in terms of state, but we need to restructure for us to move forward as a nation. You put on your thinking cap and you bring out ideas. You bring out ideas that will lead to the prosperity of your state. In fact, the states or the component parts are meant to pay royalties to the federal government. You generate so much that you now contribute to the running of the center. That is the way it is supposed to be.
Okay. Now, in talking about restructuring and all of that, another issue that has come out of this is the political will. Because you see, like from the examples and scenarios that you've given us, it's obvious that we know, people know what to do. They know that this is the way it should be. This is the way that it will work for us as a nation. But then, you know, the issue of political will, some people in certain quarters just feel, let's hold on to the status quo because this is what is benefiting us now.
Yeah, I agree with you. The political will. Another thing is, apart from the political will, there are lots of people that have the capacity and the capability to run this nation the way it should. But the pertinent question we are asking is this: why are they not involved in politics? We've seen people that are sound, they'll tell you, oh, politics, I don't want to get involved, it's a dirty game, oh, I don't want to get into that mess. But they keep complaining about the rot in the nation. Meanwhile, they know that they have the wherewithal.
Armchair critics. To
contest and to run and to govern well. Every citizen has the right to vote and be voted for. But that of independent candidate, I've not really seen it here. You know, that's why we're calling for.
That call just came up recently. It's one of the things that they're considering. So it can be explored.
Since it is the National Assembly that raised that issue, that means that they are looking into it and they are going to make some amendments to see to it that, you know, the independent candidates comes to
so some of these people can actually now come in without obstacle of Godfather or whatever, and then come in and really make a difference.
Yeah, you know, the true fact is this: there is nothing wrong with Godfatherism. It's just that in Nigeria it has been bastardized.
Indeed.
There is nothing wrong with you having an ambition. You want to rule a nation, you want to rule a state, and you have what it takes. There is nothing wrong with you meeting X, Y, Z.
Who's actually supposed to be a mentor?
Like politicians too,
like a mentor, really.
And seek for support. In America, they do that. They call the high and the mighty, they contribute towards the campaign of whoever that is contesting. All their desire is for the guy they've sponsored to run the nation effectively. But here we have a twisted system where, okay, the politician is given conditions, impossible conditions. We're going to sponsor you, but once you get into power, 80% of the allocation that is going to come to the state will have to
come through me.
You understand? Yes. So
so that becomes a problem.
That's the challenge. There's nothing wrong with Godfatherism. It's just because we have people with twisted minds. So
who needs their minds renewed?
Yeah, there is a politician that actually did that from the southeast. Came in from US, wanted to contest, joined an unpopular political party, met important stakeholders, and they agreed to support him. But he was willing, he had the will to say no when they wanted to use him. In fact, he said in one of the meetings that they had in the hotel, he said it was meant to be a day's meeting. They had to spend one night. He said after that meeting, he went in, paid for that one night and left. That others stayed back for some days. They thought that he's going to pay for. So by the time they were through, they were like, where are you going to? You have to pay us our money. Then I think that politician pay you. The hotelier said no, he didn't pay. He only paid for that night. And that taught them a lesson. And that guy became one of the best governors we had in Nigeria. So you can actually say something and stand by it. You can always stand by what you believe in.
So it depends on the individual.
Yeah, it depends on the individual.
Okay. All right, so in going forward and, you know, in wrapping up this chat, you know, you propose and recommend, like so many other people have, restructuring and making the states financially viable, having, you know, they should begin to think as to what they can do to generate their own revenue and their own resources. Exactly. Well. What else has to happen? What about a change of mindset with the people? You know, Mr. President recently, he launched his
Change Begins With Me campaign.
And I don't really want to go into that, but does the mindset and the attitude of the people who are actually being governed, does it come to play in moving towards this goal of having a stronger, better and unified nation? And in what ways?
For development to take place in Nigeria, there has to be a handshake between the governed and the government. So it is not a one-way thing. And in politics, people tend to overpromise and underdeliver. But there is a way to, when you are campaigning, you have to be very careful. Lots of promises were made. And today, it seems those promises have become, cannot be fulfilled. But as citizens, we must not. We know that the government has a responsibility, but we must not depend on the government. A certain American president, ex-American president, said, think not of what your country will do for you, but think of what you can do for your country. So, the Change Begins With Me campaign, it's good. It's excellent. At least it's awakening the consciousness of Nigerians that the government doesn't know it all. You have your own contribution to make in nation building. You don't just depend on government for your daily bread, for help and handouts. Think. Ideas are your capital. Think, form alliances, and come up with something that you can bless the world with, that you can bless Nigeria with. The innocent we are talking about today that produces cars in Nigeria, made in Nigerian cars, vehicles. They started from somewhere. He didn't depend on the government. Have it all at once. They never depended on the government. The United States of America that everybody is rushing to, God's own country, developed a land of prosperity, superpower. How did they get to that level? They didn't get to that level by depending on government.
True.
It is through personal effort, through partnership, they were able to rise to that level. So that's why they are referred to as capitalist economy, because the people are the ones that are running the economy, not the government. But here in Nigeria, the reverse is the case. So let us put on our thinking cap and let's come up with ideas that will change the world. I'm happy to be a member of Christ Embassy because here I was thinking about the Ministry of Technology. Ministry of Technology. I was like, since inception, what have they done? What have they introduced to the nation? Then my mind, as I was thinking, I remembered church. I remembered the applications. We are doing a lot. Indeed. They should come and borrow the ideas from us.
Oh, yes. Indeed.
They should come.
Indeed.
We are developing applications, talk about UCOS, talk about King's Chart. Today we hold meetings virtually. People watch us all over the world. They log in from your office. You can participate in the midweek service and so on and so forth. Some of these applications, most of them are coming from us. So we are shining the light.
Indeed.
And I believe that it will penetrate the nation and they are going to take a cue from us.
Indeed.
Yeah.
They will. Okay, Nigeria at 56, and this is what we must do. This is the mindset that we all must have. We all have a role to play. We all must contribute. It's not the government's responsibility, but it's all of us together, our responsibility and our duty to move in that direction. So Nigeria, as the giant of Africa, if we're going to maintain that image, then these are the things we must do. We had a wonderful time today talking with Nnamdi Abana, who is a political scientist and a blogger. His blog deals on issues in the news and in politics as well. And he was here today. Thank you so much for your contribution.
It was a pleasure talking
to this topic, indeed.